Community Briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed, and today is the 20th of June. She's back. Okay, welcome back. I got to make her host, so stand by. Participants. Oh, yeah, she's host. Okay, good. So today is the 20th, and for you, good news for you procrastinators is that today is the longest day of the year. So you technically you get a few more microseconds or something, or it's the longest day of daylight. And then we are then on the back end starting tomorrow. Our days start shortening in terms of daylight, and then heading to eventually winter solstice, and we're at the summer solstice right now. So happy beginning of summer, and on the eve and back end of Juneteenth. My name is Gregory Sneed, and we do not have a guest today. So today is going to be an open forum. We're going to get some thoughts and ideas on things that are happening in the news and some comments about Juneteenth and the Juneteenth celebration. So while she's there and with a reliable Wi-Fi, I'm going to bring to the virtual stage the Juneteenth queen of our community briefing. It's Crystal Mitchell.
Hello, everyone. Happy to have you. Um, um, Welcome to the community briefing. I am Crystal Mitchell. I have a little distraction going on because I got kids in the background that are working on their PowerPoint. So I'm going to be in and out because I have to maintain the ship over here and crack the whip to make sure things are getting done. But welcome to the community briefing. We're glad to have you. This platform is powered by Recycling Black Dollars and the BBA, and it's monetarily sponsored by the Los Angeles LDC, Southern California Edison, Wells Fargo Bank, PCR, and SoCal Gas. So thank you so much for joining us. This is our open forum, and so we want your input. We want to know what you're doing. So share with us. Greg and Robin are going to maintain the president, what we need to be doing and what we should be, how we're going to guide through this conversation. So thank you guys for joining us. Please tell a friend. And in the meantime, I'm still trying to get us on. So I'm going to tap out for a minute. What?
All right, now it's over to Mimi.
Good day, everybody. It's Robin Billups with the Billups Group. And yes, I have my Mimi t-shirt on. That's what my grandkids call me. I'm glad to be here as usual. Today is our open forum, so we get a chance to have some conversation with our usual suspects. And so, and again, we appreciate the fact that we do have a cadre of individuals that dial in every week. They add to the conversation. They share their life, their lived experience. Again, my most important thing, I'm with the Billups Group. I have a consulting practice working with entrepreneurs and entities seeking to reach their strategic goals. And with that, more importantly to me, vote. We are in a season of voting. We are in a season where the vote is being taken from us, or the hurdles are being thrown up to keep us from voting. So again, I'm going to open it. I'm going to throw it back to Greg, but I want us to talk about today. What did you do for Juneteenth? What do you think about Juneteenth being a holiday? And also what's your plan to get the vote out? Because we're not talking about Biden's election. We're talking about democracy. This democracy is on the ballot. Greg, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And shout out there to Stephen Turner. He's there and he will be joining us. So, okay, Juneteenth. Quick show of hands or polls. Show of hands. How many of you think that Juneteenth was a wonderful thing? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. How many of you think it was not so good, or not in favor of Juneteenth? And how many of you are sort of undecided or not really sure? Kind of mixed feelings.
Mixed.
Mixed feelings.
Mixed.
Renee, mixed or positive or negative? All right, she'll figure out the mute thing in a minute. So, we were chatting a little bit before while we were, our pre-meeting for today, and someone asked, what did I do for Juneteenth, and so I worked. I'm an entrepreneur, and so it's not like I have a time off, and to me, each workday is about generating revenue. And one of my goals is to not have to worry about generating revenue. And I look to get there sometime soon, but at the moment, it is a task. And we were chatting about different things. So I would say overall, I was not in favor of it being a federal holiday. I think that it could have remained a Texas. I think that it's looking in the rearview mirror, and I'm focused really on the windshield, what's in front of us. I'm still concerned about our voting participation being sometimes often in the 20s or 30% with our community, and so we struggled to have emancipation. We struggled for civil rights and voting, and yet we aren't taking advantage of it. But in the meantime, on the plus side, it's a great opportunity to recognize our heritage, buy some nice looking red, black, and green or kente cloth stuff, and little barbecue or foods or what have you. So that was my 2 cents on it. Edwin, we're going to get to you, but I'm going to toss it to Robin first, and then hold on. We'll be right with you as soon as Robin's done. So, Robin, what did you do for Juneteenth? Crystal, you want to get in there too?
Go ahead. Yeah, let me jump in. So here's
you're going to jump in, Tom. Yes, right.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. What I did for Juneteenth is I met with 3 other CBOs, community-based organizations, GLAC, Crenshaw Chamber of Commerce, the BBA, and RBD, and we're working on creating a coalition that's going to bring our collective CBOs together so that we have one voice. Currently, we're looking at it being called the Black Commerce Coalition of LA. So that's what I did for you.
That's what's up. Yeah. Okay. Good. There you go. And Robin, and then over to you, Edwin.
Well, yesterday, again, I'm indifferent about it. I know folks who grew up in Galveston, and I understand the idea of a recognition for that. I think, to your point, Greg, that generally speaking, our community a lot of times turns something into a party or a picnic versus a day of service. And I think that, to your point, if we had a federal holiday for everybody to vote on the same day and you got the day off to go get that done, I think that would have been more beneficial. Something of that sort would have been more beneficial. But at the same time, too, we have a lot of people who don't know their history. So Juneteenth is an opportunity for us again to share the history and the struggle, and then you're hearing so many young people saying that, they're not going to vote. They don't know why, what's the benefit of it all. So part of it is us not really recognizing our own history and owning that history and making it a part of our everyday lives versus we got to wait for a holiday. And then the holiday is just an opportunity to be off in the party. So I get what you're saying, Greg, but at the same time, too, I think that we still have to remember there are some people out there who need to be spoon-fed. And the spoon feeding is a federal holiday and a day off, and that type of thing like that. And so I think maybe we can go ahead and open it up for a dialogue amongst our guests here today and, our audience here today. And I'm going to start with Renee, because Renee, I know Renee always, and when we're coming to you, but Renee.
Let's go to Renee. Let's go to Edwin. Edwin had his hand up. It's out of fairness.
Okay. We're playing fair. And again, guys, let's think about the fact that we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Yeah. So go right ahead, Mr. Edwin. Introduce yourself and talk to us.
All right. Thank you so much. And Greg, thank you for letting them know that I did raise my hand.
I saw it.
My name's Edwin Lombard. I'm the president and CEO of ELM Strategies. We are a public relations, communications, and community outreach firm located in the Sacramento area. I grew up in Los Angeles, I was born in New Orleans, but my roots are there in LA. Crystal, first off, I want to say, great idea putting together this advocacy group. That voice would have a very strong impact, not only locally there in Los Angeles, but here in California at the Capitol and also across the nation. So kudos to you guys, and I'd love to work close with you on helping you be as effective as you can possibly be. On Juneteenth, Greg, I think you're right to one extent, but I think you also missed the boat on something. We're at a point in life here in the United States where they're trying to take our history away from us. They're trying to make us a ghost. And everything that we can do to put a stamp on that history to say, yes, that did happen. Yes, we were there. Yes, we did come through this, but look at where we are now. I think every chance we get to have a positive spin on something that was negative that happened to us, to show how we have come miles and miles far beyond where we were initially in this country, I think it's important that we do so. I hope there's some time in this discussion that we're having today where I can bring up some ballot measure issues that's going to be on the November ballot, because there's some very important ones going to be there. And the Supreme Court just handed down a ruling that was pretty outrageous, if you ask me. And if we get a chance, I'd like to talk about that.
Yes. Thank you. And Renee? Renee, you're still on mute.
She's on mute.
You're still on mute.
Yeah, take yourself off of mute, Renee. And Edwin, you're actually on the list for an advisory.
On the top, it wouldn't go off, but I got it on the bottom. Anyway, hello, and Edwin, I'm glad you raised your hand and you were able to go first. Juneteenth, I like a little bit of all of what you said. I wasn't out doing any service yesterday in that regard. However, as much as it's needed, I'm like Greg, I have to work for my money, and I had to work all day. I'm in New Orleans to attend a conference starting tomorrow, but just before I left, I met this guy, and we danced, but we were dancing to some business music. So I picked up a client yesterday. I worked all day on my proposal, 2 proposals, and I have my fingers crossed. So that's what I did all day. The day before, I slept because I had a horrendous trip down here. As far as we're concerned, the part that bothers me most, yes, we have this holiday, but our young people do not know who we are. They don't know our history. I saw that play recently at the Kirk Douglas Theater, Having Our Say, where these 2 women at 102 years old and 103 and 101 told the story that every young person needs to hear about our history. And there are many, many things out there that lend themselves to our history. But we, as the parents of these children, and my child is one of them, who has a different attitude than we have. And he doesn't vote and thinks horrendous things that are negative about what happens, like it doesn't count. And I can't believe it. And I reared that kid, so it hurts to my heart that he is among many other people his age that are not getting the message. They're not spreading anything. They're not even nothing. They don't realize that their vote does not count for anything except the opponent, So, I mean, when they don't vote, it's a plus for the opponent. So that's kind of that is where I am, and I just think we have so much work to do. And Robin is always, every week she mentions voting.
You talk to him
about voting,
so he called. So,
but that's it. It's getting our young people to the voting booths. That's what I want to do. They know we have a history, but they don't know it.
Excellent.
Dr. George?
Yes. I spent the day reading a book. The title is Combee, Combee. Harriet Tubman, the Combahee River Raid and Black Freedom during the Civil War. It is a new book just published by Professor Etta L. Fields Black. She's a professor of history at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. There are facts in this particular book about Harriet Tubman that there are facts that have never been shown before, never been written about before. And it's an eye-opener for all of us, I think, young and old, prime hands and old heads. I firmly support Juneteenth as a federal holiday, and I support what Brother Edwin Lombard just said in terms of knowledge transference. I am a granddad. I am 4 generations roughly from chattel slavery. And the more everybody knows about Black folks in this country, the better off we will be. And we won't be on the brink, as we are right now, of fascism. That's my story.
Very good.
Was Juneteenth an inspiration for reading the book?
No. I know the professor. I had the opportunity a couple of months ago when I was in Pittsburgh to attend a reading, and she talked about the process of writing the book. And she shared a little known fact that much of the data she gathered about Harriet Tubman came from the pension files in Washington, D.C. And I don't know, I never thought that part of our history is still readable and findable in the pension records in Washington, D.C.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Greg, can Dr. Taylor put the name of the book in the chat?
Yeah, that'd be
for
great.
us, please.
I will.
Kumba, you said, right? Kumba?
Combee.
Kumbi.
Can you see that?
Not with the virtual screen on, but please, share it with us in the chat.
The chat.
And,
yes, I'll put it in the chat.
I think Ted's up. Ted,
Can I come back again? I forgot something really important.
sure it is.
Okay. I want to give hats off to Mimi over there, because she is always talking, you are always talking about getting people on this show, and people who have meaning and words to say. And the guests, for those people who aren't here all the time, have been incredible on this show. And I just want to bring up a Juneteenth event that happened yesterday on Netflix. One of our guests, Kitty Black Perkins, her documentary was up there. Chandra Rhimes, and let me say this again too about you, Robin. When she was on the show, Kitty Black Perkins, talking about how she prepared this Black Barbie doll and how she gave it this fabulous wardrobe, et cetera, et cetera. Listen to the documentary. But Billups said, they are not treating you right. Mattel is not treating you right. You need to get into their pocketbook. She didn't say it like this, but that's what she was saying. And get some of that money that they owe you for doing this thing. And now she has this documentary. One of our other members, I can't think of her name right now, but anyway, it's her girlfriend that brought her on. this documentary telling her story that she had not been credited for all these years. And she was on our show. We brought her in. Emma brought her in. And Robin coached her. You need to do this, you need to do that. And look where she has gone. Thank you. Thank you, Community Briefing, for what we do for our people and how we recognize them and help them. So that's what I wanted to say. So Juneteenth, it came on yesterday. So if you haven't seen it, tune in. And I haven't seen it yet because you know what I was doing yesterday. But I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Community Briefing.
Ed.
I'm going on mute.
Thank you. I didn't do anything. I mean, I was a little selfish yesterday. I didn't do any community in the community work or anything like that. But I spent time with good friends and kind of just celebrated in that way. But I'm for all the comments that were made about Juneteenth. I think it's important. But one of the things I am concerned about, I mentioned a while back that I'm a member leader with the LA Black Workers Center. I'm part of the community. We have a political education committee. And one of the things during voting season, one of the things that we always do is we do a forum that's called Know What the Hell You're Voting For. We talk about all the ballot measures and really kind of give information to people so they can make our big push is making sure that folks that make informed decisions. But one of the things that I am concerned with, I've been talking with the group, is that during the voting season, also they do go out and do some canvassing. Well, I'm not a canvassing person, so one of the things I said I'm planning to do this year is to go and do some civic engagement presentations to capture audiences and to specifically to males. Because I think we have a lot of males, Black men that don't vote. But I'm particularly interested in some of the population that we're talking to because for so many reasons, many of us have these subjective views, and we can't really think objectively about the big picture. I have like some of my adult friends that's in business. I was having a conversation with one of my friends over yesterday, and she's talking about Trump because of his views on immigration, without really factoring in all these other things that are at risk. And you're gonna consider a person for this one issue. And it's kind of crazy how we could have these subjective viewpoints without really considering these bigger pictures. So one of the things I really want to do is to go and do these community the civic engagement presentations with the focus on voting and why it's important to vote and significance of it. And so we're in the process of talking now about those things, but I'm preparing for that. But I think it's really important to actually go around. I think it should be several of us maybe I may want to consider once I kind of put a presentation together to kind of hit the ground to some captured audiences and do this, to help expand folks' horizon and their viewpoints and understanding about what's at stake, and not just hold on because like they're so limited in their views and understanding that they're holding on to one thing or they're upset about a particular issue without taking without considering the bigger picture and what's at stake, and that's dangerous. That's really dangerous.
Thank you.
Excellent point, Ted. And what you're saying is people have glommed onto one thing, be it immigration, be it, I heard two 30-year-olds yesterday saying, Joseph, you're coming up next. I heard two 30-year-olds say yesterday they don't know nothing that Biden has done. Nothing. And at the end of the day, okay, if he didn't do anything, tell me what you did. What are you doing for yourself? What benefit did you get from yourself, from the work that the activity that you have within your family? We're kind of stuck on, I'll leave that alone. Joseph.
A couple of things. I'll respond to the first question first. Yesterday, I spent Juneteenth at a gathering with some really good friends because every once in a while, our mental health needs to not be focused on the plight of our people, focused on the fact that our democracy is ragtime on the corner, to quote Gil Scott Heron. Not focused on any of the negatives. Sometimes you just need to eat some good food and drink some good drink and spend some time with people that you like and like you so that you can recharge and get ready to go forth and do what we need to do. So I treated Juneteenth as a holiday and I enjoyed it. Now, the holiday itself, I'm conflicted about because it grew out of what was happening in 2020. We were in a pandemic. George Floyd had just been killed. People were in the streets talking about freedom, liberty, equity, lots of different things, intersectionality. And what did we get for all of that? Some merchandise in some stores, some pledges from corporations that many of them have backtracked from, and this holiday that, frankly, we've been celebrating. I haven't worked on June 19th in 20 years, whether I work for a corporation or for my own company. We've been celebrating Juneteenth. Didn't need this to be a federal holiday. I'm not mad that it is, but that wasn't what we were asking for. We were asking for the police to stop killing us. And what we got was this holiday. Now, as far as the election goes, yes, voting matters, but part of the problem is the way it is framed in the media constantly is basically a battle of two personalities. I like Trump. I like Biden. Biden's too old. Trump seems like a strong man. Never enough about what the actual impact of either one of them being in office will be. Now, you can find that information. There are articles that are published almost daily about Project 2025. If you haven't read it, I commend all of you to read it. I think most of the people in here are conscious enough to know how dangerous that is and how real it is. If you think that's just some fantasy land, not only is it not fantasy land, they're already working on a lot of it, and some of it's come to fruition. For example, voting rights are in trouble. Abortion rights in many states actually don't exist anymore. They have been working on packing these courts for about 40 years while we were worried about, I don't really like her. What about her emails? And Al Gore is boring and lots of other personality stuff that just doesn't matter. And when I hear people talking about the guy that some want to vote for, you'll hear things like, well, we got a stimulus check and he's hard on immigration. So as someone said, or, you know, I like his position on the right to life. Well, he doesn't actually have any position. He just says whatever he thinks will get him cheers at a rally. And the media aids and abets that because they'd rather talk about that than the fact that he's a convicted felon who tried to overthrow the government and shouldn't even be on the ballot. Our system, through the failure of imagination, allows for a guy who couldn't get a job as the night manager at a McDonald's to be running for president. That's not my fault. But what we've got to do, and Robin is really great about this, we've got to keep emphasizing that. And if you think you've heard it too much, there are plenty of people who haven't heard it at all. We've got to keep people realizing just how dangerous and how damaging this election is. It's not about whether you like Biden or you worried about his age, because there's a 3-year age difference, by the way, that doesn't get pointed out enough. Biden's too old, but Trump somehow is younger than me. That's not true. And so we're victims of all of this information and spin, and our young people who aren't paying nearly as much attention as some of us are falling victims to it too. They're busy blaming whatever's happening in their lives on immigration when immigration hasn't affected them in one way or another. It's, again, spin that's being fed and being swallowed. So we're fighting an uphill battle against some really powerful people who control the media and control information, but we have to consistently do it. So I took yesterday off, but I'm back on the case today.
Thank you. Let's see, who haven't we heard from? Dr. Rosie, would you like to share some thoughts with us? Still morning. Yep, this morning.
Good morning. I was just listening and enjoying what I was hearing. You know, holidays, I guess it just takes me back to just another day that I didn't have to pick cotton. So y'all, if you're not from the South, you don't know what I mean. So we were glad to have any day, I didn't care who they named it after, that we could come out of the field. And that seems what a lot of people are doing now, because they're not being productive. They're meeting and eating. And when it's all over, when the sun sets, tomorrow starts off, they're in the same predicament they were in before they started. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Dr. Rosie, again, we need you to come back, because what we're talking about is the fact that we just don't know enough about we hear about the struggle, but we don't have personal references. And so what you just said totally resonated with me, because my parents are from Clarksdale, Mississippi. And as somebody said yesterday, or even earlier today, we're only so many generations from chattel slavery. That was Dr. Taylor. And so again, it's these lived stories that have to be told. And I think what has happened in our community, folks don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. But if you don't know where you came from, how are you going to know where you're trying to go? And so again, I applaud you for sharing that with us, that from that perspective, that because we hadn't thought about it like that. We really hadn't thought about it like that. Why don't we
guys,
sure.
I was in Georgia 2 weeks ago in Savannah, and I went to in Charleston. We went to a plantation, and in the plant, in Charleston in South Carolina, as well as Savannah, I guess the produce that was grown was rice. And so of course that's very swampy in those areas, right? So when we go to the plantation and we're walking around, and there's a big open area of water, pond, river, whatever they want to call it, but that's where they grew their rice. Well, lounging around the shoreline had to be at least 15 alligators. And they didn't just get there that yesterday for me to see them when I got there. They had been there all along. And so that water was where they had grown the rice, and they used the slaves to do so on that plantation. That was actually a working plantation with 458 slaves. When the Civil War happened, they burned the house down and all of the crop to go along with it. The slave quarters were still there. And in that, young lady, the historian, she told a very accurate story. She's a white girl, and I had to go up and give her kudos for telling the truth. There was no gloss over it. And in that water, besides the alligators, plentiful were water moccasins, and as well as snapping turtles. And they said there was no slave that did not work in that water field that lasted more than 4 to 5 years, because they were either bitten or chewed up. And so just the step off the walk from the ground to the thing to the pond and to the water was dangerous for them. So, if we're not visiting those type of places and understanding the horrors that our people suffered, and in this, I have to say this, and I posted this yesterday, I don't know how we're here today, to be quite honest with you, because our ancestors had to live through that for us to be sitting here even having that conversation. I don't know how that happened, because I don't think I would have made it. They would have killed me before I had to get into that water with the alligators. So
well, Robin, just for you know that Angola prison in Louisiana, it's an 18,000 acre farmland that the prisoners maintain that has never closed since slavery. It's still open to 18,000 acres of farmland that is maintained by it was a plantation that never closed. It is maintained by the prisoners and in that state prison. It still exists today.
Yeah.
And you just described what Harriet Tubman lived and did in the rice fields near the Combahee River.
Well, and the thing is that I think what happens is, I'm about to be 69 years old. So that's not that far off from me. But somebody that's 25 or 30 years old, that was back then. That used to happen back then. And part of it has to do with not telling these stories. We're back to, again, not sharing the lived experience of our ancestors and of our family members. And especially, you know, I think we really need to hone in on this Black male thing, because that's the women, sorry to say, but the women have always been at the plow. We've been there, we've stayed there, didn't get a chance to lean back. As Whoopi said yesterday, we've always been woke. And so, you know, nobody had to wake us up. We've always been woke. And so we need to start thinking about, how do we get these young males, if we can get more activity around these young males, and maybe start thinking about our programming to start having some more younger men to come on the show, and then maybe have like you know, Coach Greg and Steve and Joseph, you know, Ted, you guys do the moderating, you know, because I think part of it has to do with the fact that guys are so used to hearing women talk, they kind of tune them out, you know. And I know my sons have done that over time. They've actually tuned me out. But then as they mature, they start saying, Mom, wait a minute, slow down. Say, tell me about XYZ. So I think that that's something we need to consider. We have not heard from Bianca, and we have not heard from Roz. I know Roz wants to chime in, and then we're going to come back around to Sarah, and then we're going to have Dr. Rosie talk to us about these books that she's written. And Emma, we haven't heard from Emma as well.
And Stephen has his hand up.
And Stephen, go right ahead.
Oh, but in the last month, we've had two young men that came on the show. One was Ryan Wilson, dynamic drummer who has a gathering spot. And again, Chris, I owe you a membership. And then on the 6th of June, we had another young man, Jewel Love.
He was excellent.
CEO of Excellence. So we're trying to have some more diversity of young Black men, bringing that to the fore.
And then we have Renee's nephews earlier this year. They were exceptional. But I think that we need to we have to put forth a concerted effort to be inclusive with these young people, because somewhere along the line, if we can get 1 or 2 or 3 consistent, then that's going to bring, you know, you see what I'm saying, you know, because we have a consistent core group of individuals who dial in every week here. And so we can get some consistency with some of these younger people. I think that they may be able to help us with that recruitment as well. Raj, you're off mute.
Just before she does that, Robin, I just wanted to say around male development, I think there's some conversation that we need to have that we are not having. And that's where my specialty is in male development. That's what I've been doing mostly for most of the time, the 30 years I've been in social services. Because like one of the things that we're not talking about is, in Black culture, we never had a paradigm shift. Our women still lead the culture. Many Black males don't feel, you know, we live in a patriarchal society, and many Black males do not feel they have any say-so or stake. Case in point, you let something happen to Susie Q. It is built within the culture, and you know, these Karens that keep talking about, they will believe anything she says because in their collective, they protect her. It is our fault that we don't do the same for our women. We don't speak up for it, and that's the issue that needs to be talked about in our culture. I have issue with that. I have great issue with that, and there's still a difference in how, because some of the stuff happens to us, there's still a difference how male childs are raised versus females. That would be because of that. Many of our females are alpha females, and a lot of our males are not equipped to know how to deal with that, and they can withstand the intimidated, and there's so many other things that happens that there's somewhat of a breakdown. The only one that the males that there's a population that we don't talk about is millennials that were raised by old school teaching by what baby boomer parents. They're fine. There's way more of them than people think that there are, and you know they've done all the right thing. I call them a silent generation because they've done all the right things. They got the education and they're doing well for themselves, but nobody talks about them because they don't get into trouble, and there's some people will call them to say they have boring lives because they're doing okay for themselves, but there are way more of them than people think that there are.
Boring is good. Boring is really good. Boring is consistency, you know. But Ted, thank you for that. And again, we will continue to massage this thing. You know, that's the purpose of the community briefing, though, right? For us to elevate and illuminate and figure out, how to move something forward. Let's see here. Roz, you were off mute for a second. Where are you? Are you still there? Okay, Bianca. Oh, there is she. Yeah, she's still there physically. I mean,
Or Emma.
Emma, go right ahead.
Real quick. Thank you guys. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to say voting is important. I can't tell you how much I feel about that. I will have the meeting October the 26th at my home. I do not want people to share my address. I will say that. And the reasons, you all know why. But we have to get people there, understand the purpose and why it is imperative that we vote. There are so many things. I looked at where they are going to start posting our 10 commandments in the schools. That is crucial. And I am a Christian. I believe in the 10 commandments, but how can you, like someone said, how can you say thou shalt not kill, but we still have the death penalty? So there's a lot of things we have to think about, it's so many things with this voting initiative that we are going to have to take in consideration. We have to know who we're going to put on the Supreme Court going forward. These judges, making sure we have the right judges that we select. This is going to be probably the important election that we've ever experienced, I know, in my lifetime. So I really hope everyone really take it serious, and you're invited to my home. You don't have to bring anything but your voting material. I will give you flyers and the address, and I am selective as to who's coming. Another thing about the community briefing, I love coming on here, but we need to be careful a lot of times, and I don't know what other forum we have that we talk about. We have some of the best information on this forum I've ever heard. Intelligent people come on here. We talk about everything. We got to be careful who we allow to come on and listen to what we're talking about. And that's important. I think I can say a little bit more, but please focus on the voting. We get prepared for it. I went to an event real quick. I'm gonna say this at Beehive, first time I've ever been there. And if you guys ever been to that facility, they have all kinds of high-tech equipment there for our young kids. And we're talking about teaching our kids about voting, interested in anything about the voting. They can learn all kinds of things at Slauson in Vermont at the Beehive. They have all of these facilities there, and our kids are not showing up. And that's what I was saying. None of our kids are showing up at these events or at these training centers. So we need to get them involved. We need to get the parents to make sure that their kids can get to these facilities that are going to stimulate them, especially this summer. Keep them busy. Talk about voting, take them to the voting with their parents. We want everybody to get involved, and we have to start with our kids at a young age, not as an adult. The other thing I want to mention is our Black men are not supporting Biden. And because a lot of them say it, influential men, and they put it on the air, and they think they're inspiring our young people. And they're saying the same thing that they hear. Okay, yeah, he has a mugshot. I'm gonna support him because he looks like me. We gotta change that paradigm. They cannot keep continuing to listen to what's on media. We have to talk to our kids some kind of way. And I think I heard Ted Booker said that he's going to start having talks before the election. I would love to be a part of that, but we have to speak to our kids about the voting, about the images that we are portraying, and do something different. And you can't wait until after November before we start doing this, because we have no idea what our country is going to be like if the wrong person gets in office.
Emma, quick question. I think you may have joined us before we posed the question. What are your thoughts on Juneteenth being a national holiday?
I appreciate it. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. We started Juneteenth celebration a long time ago. We knew about it, and it's important. And it's interesting. When I moved to California, a lot of people had no clue about it. My father was an activist in Indiana, so I understand it. I came from the Ku Klux Klan territory, if you know anything about Indianapolis. And I support it. I wish we would do more. I was at the first celebration that we had last year. I was actually in that stampede that they had. It was unbelievable in Crenshaw. And I actually was at the VIP fence when it happened, and I was able to get past that. I went under the stage. That was how bad it was. And I didn't think that they would even have it again this year, but we have to learn how to act, number one, when we have these events and crowds. And there's a lot of educational things we have to teach our kids, because like there was no reason that happened. They destroyed the McDonald's on Crenshaw. I mean, it was crazy. Luckily, no one died. So, but as far as Juneteenth celebration, I want us to continue it. I hope that we can do more to embrace it and show people what it means to us.
Thank you. Dr. Taylor, with your permission, there's one person we haven't heard from is Bianca. Give her an opportunity to speak, and then we'll come to you.
Hi, everyone. I think it's important to make it a national holiday, because those who are ignorant of the past relive the past. So we need to keep this, now every child that's going to be born now are going to know about Juneteenth. They're going to understand the history. Because it's a holiday, they're going to do events at school and kindergarten. They're going to be, drawing and stuff. So these kids are going to learn it from infancy. They'll stay in their mind to make sure that this doesn't happen again. As you can see, we're going backward a lot. I mean, some of the stuff that the Supreme Court is voting on this week is taking us back. It's just mind-boggling to me, to live in such a great country and have such craziness going. I think it's really important. I know yesterday I spent a day with the Southern California Black Chamber. They had their golf tournament and they had some music there. So, and I took my kids, and that way they understand that on Juneteenth, we go to a celebration, we understand. I mean, even if they're partners or friends or not African-American, they could still tell them, hey, this is what I did. I know my son posted on Instagram where he was yesterday, and all of that is educating, right? So we educate people. I think we could get them to be more sympathetic towards our cause, right? They can relate. So I'm extremely excited that it is a national holiday.
Thank you.
Good.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes. I'm just wondering to what extent this organization reaches out to the D9. You're talking about getting youth involved. That's one avenue.
Greg is part of the D9.
Okay, let him finish. Let him finish.
Okay.
Who's part? Who did you say?
Gregory. You're talking about the fraternities, right?
Yes, ma'am. Fraternities and sororities. That's an underutilized source with direct connections to youth. The holiday, I agree 1,000% with what Bianca just said in terms of using this holiday as an educational instrument. It would have been great for this forum, for example, to have shown yesterday, and for this discussion to have taken place. I understand Ms. Max's concerns about who is invited onto these groups or these discussions, because it can be risque. But I think about my parents. My dad was born in 1899. My granddad, my mom's dad, was born in 1874. And again, reading the professor's book, Combe, if we did one thing, and that was a seminar on our surnames, I think that in and of itself would be an eye-opener. My comments, thank you.
Dr. Taylor, we are, this organization, this forum is aligned with a lot of different organizations. Certainly the Black fraternities and sororities, the Kappa League and various, the Omega Men, they have a bunch of programs as well. And we will take heed to that. But one of the things that the beautiful thing about this forum is that we don't just sit here and talk. Everybody on this, I know every individual on this forum is actively engaged in the community, addressing everything that we're talking about to the best of their ability. And we will just continue to work on it. I want to go over, Ross has gotten off of mute.
And
We're
Ms.
running out
Bills,
of time.
I didn't mean to insult anyone with those
You're not
comments.
insult. No. We don't take stuff like that. It's not an insult. It's definitely not an insult. Because this is an open forum. It's an opportunity for us to open, share, and be indifferent. But understand that we literally, as we have this open forum today, we're preaching to the choir. Because this is the choir that got the music. They come to rehearsal.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
They know their section, So Ross, go right ahead. And Dr. Taylor, please understand, nothing is off kilter here, except for the fact somebody who's not here for the right reason. And that's what Emma was talking about. Go ahead, Ross.
So first, let me apologize. I was trying to do 2 meetings. We have SBAC that changed the meeting till today. So I got in on the tail end, but did get to hear some people's comments, and I could concur. But I wanted to, and even as the end, when you talk about, the Juneteenth, but I attribute saying what we're saying and what we're discussing here on this community briefing, and why this is so important. It's important, and as the doctor was just mentioning about the different organizations, and there are several Greeks that are here that represent their respective sorority or fraternity, and then there's the Divine Nine that you have that is an organization in itself. But not just that, there's BBA, there's all these organizations that we on the call participate in, and that we probably need to be more diligent about trying to get more people to participate, because on this forum we talk about everything, and some of the biggest issues are around voting and what we've got going, but everything is discussed. So yesterday I kind of reflected. I went to a funeral of a young man that had passed, and after that got together with the family and people, and we started talking about young men and talking about the different things that have been going on, and as we had grown up. And I immediately thought about this forum, and I'm constantly inviting people to this forum so that it's not we're preaching to the choir. We discuss and whether we agree or disagree, a lot of times we're aligned with some of the things that's going on health-wise and voting, but this forum is for everything. And I just think that more and more, and as it's now, it's not just Juneteenth, but this forum represents a lot, and we should always invite a lot, just keep inviting people and keep having this forum to grow and grow. And I like the fact that we record and we keep it, where it's, we keep it going where you can go back and look again. But that's what I thought about with Juneteenth. It just kind of really brought me back to this forum and some of the things that we have discussed and will be discussing, and some of the people that have been on, and this whole thing around the young men, bringing them in, young men and young women, that bringing them in. But we can do a lot of things, and we have a lot of talent and a lot of people with a lot of experience here that we can start to put on some of those things, but it just keeps us involved. And that's what I wanted to say.
I think one person left is Sarah. So Sarah, you might have missed the beginning of it. What did you think about Juneteenth? Some were in favor of it being a holiday, some not in favor, and some mixed.
Definitely in favor of it being a holiday. I don't see how you can celebrate freedom without everybody being included. And with those who did not know about it for 2.5 years or so, we definitely need to acknowledge that. And then also too, who was mentioning about as a instrument of learning and never forgetting. So I'm definitely in agreement that long overdue to have this as a holiday. And also, we will be hosting our Black Business Day Expo August 17th. And Emma, even though it will be a business focused conference or event, it had been on my mind that we need a voting registration or a voting, element there too. So I would love to pick up with you on that to make sure that that is represented there. So I kind of joined in here a little bit late, but it was dived right on into what you guys were saying. And I love the whole aspect too about making sure that we elevate our men and providing a platform or opportunities, a way that we can be able to make sure that we celebrate our men.
Sarah, don't forget about the mixer.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Ted, thank you so much. As part of for our Black Business Month entire awareness and celebration. Thank you so much, Ted has come on to help us to host our kickoff mixer, which will be on July 31st at Chester, Washington Clubhouse. July 31st from 5 to 7:30. And it's a kickoff for Black Business Month, but also too, thanks to Ted and with our collaboration, we're going to be doing a spotlight on green sector contracting opportunities.
Excellent.
And it will carry over to the expo as well. So some good stuff happening there. But anyway, more information will be coming. So that's July 31st, put on your calendar, and August 17th. Thank you.
I have one thing that I would say conclude, but to be clear about is I certainly by no means mean to diminish the importance of African American history, and I would see value in celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation, which happened 2 years before that. I'd be more in favor of having a national holiday, a Black History holiday, African American History holiday, and that would focus on learning versus really just the celebration, barbecue, and partying. That my understanding of what generally happened on Juneteenth. So I just wanted to be clear that it's important of having history, but you want to combine history with current events, what's happening now, and being aware of what's happening versus in addition to being aware of what happened previously. So
don't forget the month of February.
And I also say, and Greg, I agree with you, because here's something, when they threw out that 1864 for the abortion, to roll it back to 1864 in Arizona, when Arizona wasn't even part of the United States at that time. But that 1864 was a very significant time. And there's a very specific reason why in Project 2025, that number is rolling around, because that was before we were emancipated. So the Project 25 got a special plan for us. And so when we talk to our young people, that's what we should be talking about. That's why you don't vote for that man, because you are a young man, and they will have you enslaved. They already try everything they can to take you from prison, from kindergarten to prison. But this time they're gonna make sure they're gonna skip the kindergarten period, and you're going straight to prison. And so to work there, because we have to understand behind the slavery piece was the capitalist piece. And that capitalist piece was they had free labor. I wish we could have free labor for our businesses. We would be quite successful if we didn't have to pay anybody salaries, right? And that's what they are trying to get back to, is not to have to pay salaries and keep all that capital for themselves. So it's all about the dollars. always about the dollars when it comes to them. So we have to be very careful. We're at 12:04. This has been a fantastic conversation.
I do
And
have
as,
one more input.
okay.
Yesterday, Pat Harvey did a very brief story on KJLH. KJLH is about to enter its 60th anniversary next year, and Lon McHugh has been there 40 years. And I sent a note to Karen Slade to invite him to come on to talk about, you know, his experience and his life. And then yesterday also too, the Chester Washington Golf Course had an exceptional event where they had invited all of these Black kids to come and learn how to play golf and provided them with all the bells and the whistles that they needed to do that. And then finally, I want to, and Renee, thank you for the entreatment, but I want to entreat Crystal Mitchell, because Crystal Mitchell, every day the Lord sends, is working with somebody's kids. Every day the Lord sends.
Yes, she is.
She's working with somebody's kids. And right now she has the Urban League Business Camp going on, which means she, you know, she's straddling the fence in the multiple ways. And then finally, Emma, I think Emma, Edwin, and Ted working with Sarah and the rest of us around these activities that are coming up, especially, I think everything that we do, we should have some kind of voter registration, some way to make it easy for folks to get registered to vote and to understand that we got some forms coming up for them to understand what's on the ballot and what the significance of all of this is. So again, I love this community briefing. I'm like Roz, I'm like everybody on here. That's why we dial in every week, because we do get a chance to vent, share, illuminate, and go back and forth with each other, and then hang up and get back into the fray.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that. So with that, I got to go corral some children. They got some threatening that they got to present to me as soon as they come back from lunch. So I got to make sure they're in the right frame of mind when they get here. And I had to threaten them a number of times since we came on the air. So I got to go do some more threatening. But I do want to thank you guys.
Thank you.
As I said at the beginning, Sarah and I and JC of Crenshaw Chamber, and as well as Angela with the with the GLAC, we're working on creating this one voice. The community briefing will be the media platform of that. So the more people that we can get on. So Dr. Taylor, if you know some young men that you feel can come share with us, and everyone here, that's how we get our guests. You guys tell us, we suggest. We're always out networking, bringing the best people to the platform. Next week, we have Senator Kevin Murray, who's retired, and he is the CEO of Weingarten. So please come back. Go tell everyone you know. We'd love to see this platform with 50 to 100 to 300 people every Thursday at 11 a.m. sharing. That should be our goal. Mm-hmm. And then so that we can monetize this station and go over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe so we can actually generate revenue for this platform. And then we're going to take off the 4th of July. And then we have a special guest, Allegra Stanton, I guess that's her name, Stephen. She's the co-founder and manager of New Majority Capital. We got some great guests lined up for July. I'm excited. Please go tell some people, guys, and come on back and bring everybody with you when you come back. It's just, you're sitting at home at 11 o'clock. All righty.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
With that,
Thank you.
Crystal.
Yes.
Robin, how can I get in touch with you guys?
Oh, easy.
You can come back next week.
I'll be in Tampa, Florida next week. I'll be in Florida, down with the
all right. Here's my information.
Oh, hold on, Crystal, we're broadcasting. Before you give out, shut off the